Hi, I'm Chris Conway, Associate Professor of Modern Languages and Faculty Co-Chair of the UTA Arlington OneBook Program. Okay, so now I'm going to jump to the second issue, the second problem he identifies in this chapter after growth. And that second issue is the issue of the environment and the limited nature of our resources. The fact that we don't have a limitless supply of oil, we don't have a limitless supply of water, that these things have a finite end, and when we get to that end, we're going to be out of luck. So he talks about the environment in terms of how much there is left for us to use, and also how the consumption of these resources, how that affects the environment. So one of the issues is a quantitative issue. Do we have enough oil? Do we have enough water? Do we have enough good air? Okay, that's a quantitative issue. And the other issue that he identifies when talking about this issue of the environment and resources, the second one is the quality of our environment. Because if we poison the air, if we poison the water, these things are going to come back to hurt us, to affect our health and our survivability as a species. So his argument about the environment really has two dimensions to it. And in fact, one of my favorite parts in this chapter is the moment in which, on page 18 and 19, and I recommend you get your copy of the book and check out these two pages because they had a very powerful impact on me. McKibben projects what's going to happen 30 years down the road, 40 years down the road, if the Chinese people, for example, start to be as affluent and as consumeristic as we are in the United States of America. What happens when they start eating as much as we're eating in the United States right now? What happens when the Chinese start driving cars in the same numbers that we're driving cars? And if you calculate those numbers, it looks really bad for resources and how long they can last. So this is a great section in the chapter that I highly recommend to you because it gives you a sense of where McKibben is going with his argument. Now, there are a few non-starters that McKibben talks about in terms of solving the problem of the environment and resources. There are a few things that we might think are the solution that he says really aren't the solution. Excuse me. He talks about this whole issue of affluence, that the more affluent, the wealthier a population is, the less contaminants there are in the environment. And there have been some studies to show this, that developed nations have less pollution than nations that are in the process of developing. And he says, well, that is very much true when it comes to sulfur, for example, the contaminant sulfur in the atmosphere. But in terms of carbon dioxide, that is not the case. So this whole issue of the wealthier a population is, the more comfortable it is. The fact that a population is not starving and struggling does not necessarily help the environment or heal the environment, because there are things that wealth and affluence and being well off just cannot solve. For example, carbon dioxide pollution. So that's one non-starter that he talks about. Now, the other thing that he mentions as a non-starter is this whole issue of we need to be more efficient. Let's buy cars that use less oil, that have better, gas mileage. Let's use a different kind of light bulb. He says that these things may help, but it's like putting a Band-Aid on a huge, infection, on a huge gangrene wound. I would say that he's almost arguing for an amputation, not a Band-Aid. He's saying let's get off of oil, let's get off of this addiction that we have. Let's cut off that leg and find a different way to walk, one that is less hurtful to the environment.